Are out of their homes on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent after the first volcanic eruption there in more than 40 years. The volcano sent a thick cloud of smoke 20,000 feet into the sky, spewing ash for miles. Cruise ships are evacuating people from the island, but only those vaccinated against COVID.
As all of you know, big tech censorship is growing. The best way to support our video work for Israel and the freedom-loving world is to go to pulseofisrael.com and subscribe to our video newsletter and share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, then thank you. 2 other ways to connect with Israel and support our work. 1, help us strengthen Israel by strengthening our presence in Judea and Samaria. It's simple. Just visit this website for the details and choose the best option for you. And finally, a second way, no matter where you are in the world, enjoy the beauty of Israel via our online virtual tours of Israel. Just visit israelisbeautiful.com and sign up for one of the video and activity packages. Okay, did you hear what I just heard in the opening video? This reporter just reported very nonchalantly that cruise ships were used to evacuate people from a dangerous volcanic eruption, but, to quote the news reporter, they were evacuating only those vaccinated against COVID-19. Does that make any sense to you? Don't all lives matter? All right, this can't be true. Let's play that video again.
After the first volcanic eruption there in more than 40 years, the volcano sent a thick cloud of smoke 20,000 feet into the sky, spewing ash for miles. Cruise ships are evacuating people from the island, but only those vaccinated against COVID.
It's true. It's even been reported by the media in Israel. I don't know what world I'm living in anymore. This can't be true. It can't be that policymakers and public servants are deciding only to save and evacuate people based on people taking a vaccine? Can it be? Only those who are vaccinated are worthy of being helped? That's the message we're getting? So I then found this video of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent saying this exact message.
The Chief Medical Officer would be identifying the persons who are already vaccinated so that we can get them on the ship. You see there's a ship in the harbor. Those who are not yet vaccinated but who would be vaccinated, you wouldn't want to send them immediately after vaccination. You'd want to hold them, keep them for a day or 2, because some persons upon vaccination, they develop an itch, a little wooziness in their head. You know how that is.
Can you imagine an emergency in a hospital, let's say, that needs to be evacuated, and they have to get everyone out of the hospital, yet they announce that they will only evacuate a certain population, like, let's say, non-COVID-19 patients, because COVID-19 patients are a danger to the outside world. Can you imagine such a scenario? So where is the outcry against this immoral selection on this St. Vincent Island taking place based upon taking a vaccine? Evacuating only vaccinating people has nothing to do with health and everything to do with forcing a population to get vaccinated in order to be evacuated. Who gave doctors and politicians the permission to act like God and decide who can or cannot be saved because of taking a vaccine? Understand, this is not about the vaccine. People obviously should have the medical freedom to decide to take a vaccine or not to take a vaccine. But if people do not speak up against this dangerous development of separating people based on being vaccinated or not being vaccinated, then humanity is heading down a very slippery slope. This has nothing to do with a health issue. This is people hijacking a health issue to allow themselves to play God in the world. Understand, here in Israel, the green passport system has already been instituted. So while vaccinated people can attend certain places and events, unvaccinated people are forbidden from going to those places or events. Interesting, I just read this morning that golfers can't go golfing at the Caesarea Golf Club unless they are vaccinated. But what does that have to do with health? A golfer is outside, very socially distanced from everyone else who doesn't want to be near them. So again, if this was truly a health issue, then the whole green passport policy would make total sense. But at the same time, everyone is allowed to go shopping together in supermarkets here in Israel and to go shopping in malls together. There is no discrimination in those places. So why the different standards for different places if it truly is a dangerous health issue? Well, believe it or not, this doctor from the CDC spells it out quite clearly. Just listen.
Who, for whatever reason, have concerns about the vaccine, who just don't know what's in it for them. And we need to make it clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway. And
so the CDC doctor herself is telling us that the green passport policy separating vaccinated people from unvaccinated people is not about health, but about incentivizing or really pressuring people to get the vaccine in order to return to normal life. Nothing to do with health. This is very sad and very scary. Everyone should be respected to do what they think is best for them. Instead, what we see developing before our eyes is a two-tiered society where the unvaccinated are deemed to be dangerous and unhealthy to the extent that they are not even worth saving from a volcanic island? Is that the type of world you want to live in? Many people can't take the vaccine for health reasons. Many other people prefer to use proven medications against COVID-19 instead of taking this vaccine. Why is public health policy all over the world being pushed to literally punish people for their own medical decisions? At the same time as public health officials shut down and shame voices of doctors and medical professionals who offer alternative proven medical treatments like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine that are saving the lives of many people. Honestly, I don't know the reason why this is happening, and I don't care. But could it be the billions of dollars big pharmaceutical companies are set to earn from vaccinating the whole globe? I don't know. It could be. It's definitely a plausible explanation. I'm just going to do a short deep dive with you on the big pharma industry, the big pharmaceutical companies. Big pharma is a powerful, powerful force in this world and in many countries. It already is a billion-dollar industry with a huge influence on science, scientific journals, politicians, and even on media companies. According to this CNN Business article, Pfizer and Moderna can earn $32 billion in COVID-19 vaccine sales in 2021 alone. That's a lot of money to earn by vaccinating the globe. And then to continue those earnings every year with continuous booster vaccine shots for the whole globe, again, that's a lot of money. And regarding the influence of Big Pharma, according to the Journal of American Medical Association, pharmaceutical and health product makers spent more than any other industry on lobbying the federal government between 1999 and 2018. You can imagine it continues, scoring key victories along the way. The article writes that collectively, drug makers and other health sector companies outside insurance spent $4.7 billion on lobbying Congress and other federal agencies, and billions more on state and federal campaign contributions during that same time period. Pfizer, Amgen, and Eli Lilly were the biggest corporate spenders, with Pfizer alone accounting for $219 million in lobbying expenses and $23 million in campaign contributions over the time period studied. The drug lobby ranked biggest overall with $422 million spent on lobbying. That's just the political influence. What about its influence on the medical industry itself? Well, Big Pharma spent $3.5 billion directly to doctors and hospitals back in 2013. Imagine what that amount is today in 2021. Again, that's a huge power, money to influence decision-making of doctors and medical institutions and hospitals. in terms of the medical journal industry specifically. In an article titled Drug Companies and Doctors, A Story of Corruption, Dr. Marcia Angel, a physician and longtime editor-in-chief of the New England Medical Journal, was outspoken about the broken system of medical journals. Quote, "It is simply no longer possible to believe much of the clinical research that is published or to rely on the judgment of trusted physicians or authoritative medical guidelines. I take no pleasure in this conclusion, which I reached slowly and reluctantly over my 2 decades as an editor of the New England Journal of Medicine." And he is not alone. Here's another medical journal editor-in-chief, Dr. Richard Horton, the editor-in-chief of The Lancet, considered to be one of the most well-respected peer-reviewed medical journals in the world. And I quote, "The case against science is straightforward. Much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue, afflicted by studies with small sample sizes, tiny effects, invalid exploratory analysis, and flagrant conflicts of interest. Together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance, science has taken a turn towards darkness." End quote. Those are editors-in-chiefs of medical journals, well-respected global medical journals. Now, with regards to the influence of Big Pharma on media and social media, again, let's go to the Journal of American Medical Association. Here we see pharmaceutical companies spent $9.6 billion in 2016 on direct-to-consumer marketing via media and social media companies. That is a huge influence on media and social media. What media company will promote articles or reports that can harm their lucrative advertising revenue from these pharmaceutical companies? That is financial suicide for any media company. So we hardly see stuff today that contradicts the information from the pharma companies. So is Big Pharma the reason for this massive push to institute policies that are leading political and business leaders to decide against evacuating unvaccinated people to then force them to vaccinate? I don't know. I honestly have no clue. But I do know that everyone should be respected for their medical decisions, whether one decides to take a vaccine or not. People definitely should not be punished and not be saved from a volcanic island for deciding one way or another.
Pulse of Israel on